Hello Magic community! Ravnica has long been heralded as one of the best planes in all of Magic. With each of the 10 guilds representing the 2 color combinations of Magic, Ravnica is a longtime favorite of many Magic fans, myself included. I'm personally a huge fan of the Golgari Swarm, but quite frankly I love all of the 10 guilds. But this video isn't about any of the guilds in particular. Instead, I want to take a look at some of the cards from the Guilds of Ravnica set, and which ones are the top 10 best for the Commander format. So sit back and enjoy the video. Now for this list, I'm choosing to exclude cards like the Shocklands and Chromatic Lantern because it's pretty much accepted that these were the best reprinted cards for the Commander format that we got from this set. So rather than ramble on about how they're the best cards for Commander this set for the billionth time, I want to give the spotlight to some new faces on the block. We will also be covering my analysis of the legendary creatures from this set in another video. Sounds good? Sounds good. Board wipes are one of the strongest answers to threats in the format. Being able to wrath away any and all creatures in play can give you quite the edge in a game, especially if you plan ahead so that you have the least impact on your own creatures. Citywide Bust is a 3-mana board wipe, something that is becoming more and more common in Magic. You're restricted to only killing creatures with toughness 4 or greater, but most of the time, this will be enough to handle the problem commanders and some of the bulkier creatures you don't want on the field. This doesn't quite hit some of the token decks that will likely be popping up with all the new Selesnya cards, so this does earn at the very least spot number 10. Card draw is perhaps the biggest advantage a deck can have in Commander. Being able to churn through your library to snag up the key pieces of your win conditions is what I feel makes the difference between playing a game of Commander and winning a game of Commander. Logic! Beast Whisperer offers you something that already does exist in creature-heavy decks in the form of cards like Soul of the Harvest and Primordial Sage. The difference here is, those two cost 6 mana to play and carry a much heftier price tag than a mere 4 mana held by the Whisperer. In addition, as a longtime user of Seaton, Corrosive Protector, having card draw on a Druid creature means my Druid tribal deck just got another engine to go even faster. Now, I'm not the biggest Dimir player. I do enjoy the colors when paired with green or white, but those become entirely different strategies, so really can't count them. One of the longtime themes of Dimir colors, however, was mill. And while it doesn't really prove to be super effective in Commander, what with the need to quickly mill 300 cards without drawing attention to yourself, this card does show some potential. If you can get a good mana engine going, such as an infinite mana combo, you can easily snatch up all of the cards your opponents have had sent to the graveyard. The added benefit of being able to use mana as if it were any color also really drives home how strong this can be. Alright, so disclaimer, I was very biased with this card when it was first spoiled. One of my favorite deck types is token builds, and being able to substitute any token I create with a 4/4 flying and vigilant angel is super strong. And given that it's a 5-drop, we will easily see this hitting the battlefield in most Commander games. But that being said, many token decks need a way to make their army difficult to block, which having flying and vigilant creatures to swing with certainly fills that need. Flying is a mechanic that I've found is deceptively powerful for those who might be newer to the game. Only other flying creatures or creatures with reach can block flyers, and so if an opponent either doesn't run any flying creatures or doesn't have effective removal for your angel squad, they're in for a pretty quick game. I would have put this higher up on my list because I personally think this is my favorite card of the set, but I don't want to get yelled at in the comments section. One of the most powerful and well-known cards in the game is Snapcaster Mage. This 2-drop creature lets you flash itself in, and it gives you the usage of an instant or sorcery in your graveyard until the end of turn, which is incredibly potent to abuse some of the strongest cards you've used. In Commander, this is especially powerful as you get an additional take of a card you can only run one of. Well, this next spot isn't actually occupied by Dear Snappy. Instead, we got Mission Briefing, which in some ways might even be better than Snapcaster Mage. You get to Surveil for 2, which lets you potentially dump 2 additional cards into your graveyard. And then you get to play an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to that turn, similar to the Snapcaster Mage. The downside is that the Briefing is not a creature and it costs 2 mana instead of 1 generic and 1 blue. So it's a little more color intensive than old Snappy. So while this card might eventually prove to be better in the long run than Snapcaster Mage, at the time of the recording, it is remarkably less expensive on the wallet than the Snapcaster Mage. Buy it now! Tutor effects are powerful in Commander. Being able to only run Bard in a deck isn't exactly good for a consistent game, so to remedy that, many tuned for more competitive play will run Tutor cards to simply pull the card they need to their hand. The Mausoleum Secrets is a 2-drop tutor that lets you quickly grab a black card with CMC equal to or less than the number of creatures in your graveyard. I liken this to Demonic Tutor, which is probably the best tutor in the game. Yes, it does have a little bit of downside in being restricted to black cards only, and it's dependent on what your graveyard looks like. But if I need an additional tutor for my deck or lack the money for something like Demonic or Vampiric Tutor, this is a really solid substitute. One of the best mechanics in all of Magic is the Storm mechanic. Cards with Storm give you an additional copy of the spell for each spell played before it that particular turn. As a result, some of the strongest cards in the game that have Storm really help stack up into some absurd shenanigans. The mechanic is so strong that Mark Worswetter has said it's the least likely to be revisited. Having said that, that in no way means that they can't wiggle around it into some other similar nonsense. Thousand Year Storm might not be a Storm card per se, but it basically gives your instants and sorcery cards a watered-down version of Storm. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery card, you copy it for each instant and or sorcery played before it that turn. And it's in Izzet colors, which are known to run many instants and or sorceries. That's pretty powerful. So while I didn't include any legendary creatures on this list, mostly because I want to touch upon them individually for a video just for them, I did want to talk about one of the legendary Planeswalkers from the set that I find notably powerful, Braska the Golgaric Queen. Braska is a rather unique Planeswalker in that many of her incarnations have a similar ability with their ultimate, at least the ones that aren't Planeswalker deck exclusives. They'll normally feature an insta-kill potential, whether it be creating assassin tokens that upon contact with a player, that player loses the game immediately, or bringing a player's life total down to 1. The Golgari Queen, she offers a much more lethal method of winning, one even harder to get rid of. You get an emblem that causes any opponent dealt any combat damage by any one of your creatures to lose. So any creature, whether it be a 10/10 Eldrazi or a 1/1 Squirrel, any combat damage, finito. Of course, she is a 4 loyalty walker, so you do have to bump her up quite a bit to get that 9 loyalty before initiating that ability, but it is one heck of an ultimate. You also really can't get rid of those emblems once you get them, so just saying. Her other 2 abilities are also pretty powerful as well. Being able to trade in a permanent to get a life and a card draw is nice advantage, and she can blow up a non-land permanent with a CMC of 3 or less. Take that, tiny leaders! She's also at 4 mana, which has historically been a good bar of entry to the better Planeswalkers except Tibalt being powerful. Number 1 is Assassin's Trophy. Let's just get that off the plate already. Okay, so if you didn't see this one coming in at number 1, you really should take a better look at how stupidly powerful this card is. Assassin's Trophy is by and far the most powerful card from this set, and pretty much for any format that can run it, it's gonna be huge. It's 2 mana, which is absolutely nothing for a commander deck to toss out, and it blows up a target permanent at instant speed. This can target any permanent, be it a Planeswalker, a land, an enchantment, artifact, creature, and then its controller gets an untapped basic land, whatever. This very much takes Path to Exile and Putrefy and has some twisted bonkers fusion dance of the 2, and then puts it into colors that will very much love having another potent kill spell. The most popular card played in Golgari decks is Putrefy, which can kill either a target creature or artifact at instant speed. Picture that for 1 mana less, no restrictions on what it can kill. If you're looking to snag one of these up, I would highly recommend to do so now, as its price tag is likely not going down anytime soon. And with that, Assassin's Trophy solidly and brutally earns its place as #1 best card from Commander from Return to Ravnica Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, I appreciate it. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to hit that like button and share it around. It'll help the channel out immensely, and as always, I will love you forever. Isn't that the most important thing ever? If you're new to the channel, I hope you'll subscribe today and join the fun. You can find me on the various social medias. I also got a Patreon. You can help us work on our quality with better equipment and other stuff. And as always, I'll see all you guys, gals, and NB pals in the next video.